So they did this study. This guy sent a letter to 10 of his friends, and he said, "I hope you don't mind, but I sent your handwriting to a graphologist." And he wrote the same thing. To each of his friends, "I sent your handwriting to a graphologist." You know what a graphologist is? A graphologist is someone who studies handwriting, and he tells you your character based on your handwriting. So, he tells them, the graphologist said that the writer of these lines that you sent to me has a lot of amazing talents that they themselves don't know about, and they have other talents that they know about that they haven't fully used. And so it's really, I want you to please get this message back to them, so they should be aware of what they have. So that's what the graphologist, that's what you pretend the graphologist said. What do you think the people responded to? All 10 of them. What do you think they all responded?
Positive.
They all responded, "I always felt that way. I always knew I had something. I always knew there was something in me that just wasn't coming out." And the truth is that there is a sense that all of us have at different times, that there's more koiches, more divine gifts in us, necessarily that we're using, that we're not necessarily reaching our full potential with Hashem's gifts that Hashem gave us. And the question is, how do you bring out those gifts in yourself, in other people, in your spouse, in your children, in your friends, in your employees, in your boss? How do you bring out the best in everyone around you? How do you do it? So there's something remarkable in this week's Torah portion that gives us some insight to this question. In this week's Torah portion, we read about how Yaakov meets Yosef. Yaakov is sick. Yosef comes to his deathbed, and Yaakov asks Yosef, "Please bring my body and to bury it in Israel." And Yosef says, "Fine." And here's a funny thing. After he says fine, Yaakov tells Yosef he's not satisfied with the fine. He says, "Swear to me that you're going to bring my body to Israel." And Yosef swears to him. Another funny thing is that after Yosef swears to him, Yaakov bows down to Yosef. So the question is, number one, doesn't he trust his son? His son gave his word. It means like any son, even if he wasn't as noble and as righteous as Joseph, the father's last request, his last request, and you're the second in command in Egypt, you have all the cards. Wouldn't even if it was Esav, right? Wouldn't Esav do the same thing? If Yaakov was speaking to his brother, well, not his brother, but if Esav to Yitzchak, Esav really honored his father Yitzchak, why would he make his son swear to him? Why wouldn't he just trust him? And second of all, why would a father bow down to his son? It's true that Yosef was important, he was second in command, but it still leaves us wondering, why would Yosef allow this? What does it mean? Yaakov bows down to Yosef. What's going on over here?
Fulfilling the dream.
Fulfilling the dream of Yosef that everyone's going to bow down to. Okay. Question itself is about that dream. What does that mean? What's the meaning of Yaakov bowing down to Yosef? So the Rebbe says something very fascinating, something that could really change our lives, and has changed many people's lives in an amazing way. But before we get to what the Rebbe says about this, let's look at the first instruction that Hashem gave to mankind. God tells Adam and Eve, "Pru uruvu," be fruitful and multiply and fill the world and conquer the world. So this commandment is, on the surface, they should have children. But there's something deeper about this commandment. What's the deeper meaning of this commandment? There's a very fascinating piece of the Talmud. Talmud says that, says in the pasuk, this is the book of the Chronicles of Man. And the Talmud says that when God spoke to man, to Adam, he showed him the future. He showed him there's going to be generations of Darshav. Darshav means those who seek to do good things. Those who seek Hashem, those who are machers. That's what we call them. The machers. The ones who are like, oh, I need to make a society to help young mothers. I need to do something for widows. I need to do something. The machers, Darshav, people who seek Hashem. Then he showed Adam Rishon, the first man, he showed him the generations ahead. There'll be chachamim, there'll be wise men. He showed him generations ahead, people who are kind, who are benefactors, who are philanthropists. So God showed Adam all of this. Adam saw the future, and he saw there's Yosef Javdan, very kind, generous man who gives of his time as a doctor, helps all kinds of people. And there's a Baruch who is coming to Torah class, and even though he's whatever it is that's going on, he's still at a Torah class, and Hashem he's seeking Hashem. So Hashem showed all this to Adam. Adam was looking at our class over here on a Thursday night in 2023, Tavshin Pei Daled, Parshas Vayechi, and the question is, why was he showing this to Adam? Well, I mean, what everything that the Torah says has meaning. What's the point of showing Adam the future? Why do you need to see this? The answer is this. The Arizal says that Adam's soul wasn't just one soul. In his soul, there was every soul that will ever be born. In Adam's soul was this like mother soul. So there was a part of each of us in Adam, and that means there's a part of Adam in each of us. So when God said to Adam, be fruitful and multiply, he was saying that to every single person. Every person, be fruitful, be multiply. What does that mean to be fruitful and multiply? Conquer the world. What does it mean to conquer the world? Conquer the world. It means to, Hashem is telling Adam, you have the power, you have the energy, you have the gift to bring light to the world, to conquer the world, to make the world a home for Hashem. And this is not just achieved by you, because it wasn't done yet by Adam. One's like, how is that going to happen? I'm just one person. What are you talking about? So Hashem showed him, it's not just you. Inside of you are all these souls. And they're going to be born. He showed him all the future generations of Jews, every Jew has a part of Adam in him. And he said to them, this is how it's going to happen. There's going to be Irani. Irani is going to be a rapper. He's going to serve Hashem with his rapping. And with his rapping, he's going to inspire faith in Hashem and inspiration and trust. And there's going to be a Yid, Neil Namvar. Neil Namvar, he's going to do his thing. Yeah. So the question is, so why does Hashem show it? Hashem is showing it to him because Hashem was telling him, this is how it happens. This is how the promise is fulfilled. There's going to be this guy David, and he's going to be working in this sushi place. And there's going to be some lady walking in with her son, and his son is fidgeting. And he's going to be like, wow, what a nice outfit you have on your son. You know what the most embarrassing thing is? The most embarrassing thing is to have your kids in a public place cry, yell, and whine and scream, because everyone who doesn't have kids says, oh, what terrible parents. What terrible parents. And then the worst is they give you advice. And I think you should give him a nap. I think you should give him some food. I think he's hungry. I think you should be a little kinder. I don't think your son gets enough TLC at home. I think you should talk to him a little softer. Whatever. Everyone has great ideas. A friend of mine, Rabbi Leader from Australia, he has a book called 12 Children, Zero Theories. He says, I used to have 23 theories about raising children until I had some of my own. Mm-hmm. Now I have 11 children and 0 theories. So, but when you go over to that person and you say a kind word to them, what happens? Rabbi Moshe used to say, chassidim are meant to be genuine, right? We're not supposed to like compliments. Rabbi Moshe said, I never saw a chassid respond to a compliment with a slap. Although they're great and so honest and so truthful, no one got angry at someone who complimented them and responded to the compliment with, how dare you speak so untruthfully and compliment me in such flattery. Never happened. We all need positive encouragement. We all need this. So this is going to give us some insight to the story of Yaakov and Yosef and insight into our lives. Let's think about Yaakov's presence in Egypt.
Rabbi, go back to, I didn't understand why Hashem showed future generations.
Because he wanted to tell him how he's going to fulfill the promise, the commandment that he gave him. He said to conquer the world, make a world full of goodness and kindness. And how's it going to happen? Because David's going to give a compliment to this mother and say, your child's such a nice outfit on. All of a sudden we'll be like,
conquering the world by doing torah and mitzvot.
Right. Conquer the world through doing goodness and kindness wherever we are. Make it a home for Hashem. Exactly. So this will give us insight to the story of Yaakov and Yosef. When Yaakov told Yosef to bury him in Israel, Yaakov knew what Yosef was up against. Yaakov was worshipped in Egypt, not just as a holy person, but as a deity, as an idol. Because before Yaakov came to Israel, what happened? With Egypt, what happened? There was a hunger. Why was there a hunger? Because the Nile River usually would rise and it would fill all the tributaries of Egypt and it would sustain all the farms, and that's how the whole culture was sustained, by the Nile River. But for 2 years, the Nile River receded, and there was no irrigation, and there was a hunger. There was a famine. When Jacob and Yaakov arrived, what happened? The water rose again, and it irrigated all of Egypt, and then the food came back. So what do you think they would want to do when Yaakov passed away? What did they do with anyone who they thought was special in their pagan culture? They would mummify them, and they would bury them in some pyramid or something, and they would keep them there to make sure that the blessing that they received would stay. And the truth is that God did bless Egypt because Yaakov arrived, but Yaakov wasn't meant to be a deity remaining in Egypt, and that's what Yaakov knew that Yosef would have a hard time with. Yaakov said to Yosef, I know that it's not going to be easy for you. And therefore, I want you to make an oath. I want you to swear to me that you're going to take me to... Because if you're going to use your logic can change. Logic is fungible. Logic is flexible. You could think, well, I wanted to, Dad. I promised you, I know, but... No, you took an oath. When you take an oath, what does that mean? It's absolute. It's going to be this way. It can't be any other way. When you take an oath to something, it connects you with it in a different way. Chassidus says that when you swear with an oath you're going to do something, it reveals in you inner strength to do that thing. We're not supposed to take oaths because nowadays we take oaths and we don't fulfill them. And therefore you're never supposed to take an oath. But there is a concept in the Talmud about making an oath, and the reason why you should make an oath in Talmudic era was because by making the oath, that unearthed within you inner strength. Like the truth is that all of us did take an oath to Hashem to keep the Torah before we were born. What does the Torah say? You don't know. Mashbi'in, they say. Mashbi'in say to tzaddik. Then every soul comes before God and swears, I'm going to be a tzaddik. There was a chassid of the Alter Rebbe. He was out on a cold Russian winter night in Moscow, and he sees his sentry standing by his post, and a sergeant comes over and salutes him, and the guy doesn't salute back, and the sergeant is very upset. He tells one of the soldiers, take this guy and whip him. How dare he not respond to a senior officer? And the sentry, he says, please, Your Honor, don't do this. It's wrong. He said, why is it wrong? How dare you have such insolence not to respond to my salute? He said, listen, it's freezing outside. It's so cold. I'm frostbitten. I couldn't move my hands. I would love to salute to you. How am I supposed to move my hands? So the sergeant says, it's not a good enough excuse. Why? Because every soldier who stood before the Tsar and swore to the Tsar before becoming a soldier, you stand in front of the Tsar, that's part of the induction to the service, you swear to the Tsar, I'm going to protect the Tsar with my life. So that oath should have kept you warm. That oath you swore to the Tsar, that should have kept you warm. A friend of mine is a teacher in Ola Torah in New York, and he had this boy in his class who would always wake up late. Every day he would wake up late. And this boy joined the Israeli army. In the Israeli army, they also have this ceremony. They stand by the kotel, they hold a Tanakh, and they say, Ani nishba, I swear, I'm going to protect Israel with my life. And this boy in his class who joined the Israeli army came back for a visit to New York, and he said to him, so tell me, how many times did you come late to Reveille in the army? How many times did you come late to the... He said, what are you talking about, Rabbi? Come late? What changed? Ani nishba! He swore. He'd made that decision. It's impossible. It can't be any other way. We were learning this morning this commandment in the Torah about soldiers. A soldier is not allowed to be afraid. It's a mitzvah in the Torah. It's a biblical commandment not to be afraid. You're not allowed to be afraid. How can you command someone not to be afraid? Some Tzedek asks, you can't command someone not to be afraid. Imagine this, you walk on the battlefield, you see them holding up an M16 or whatever, and they're holding it and they're killing people. Rahman al-Islam, how are you not going to be afraid? So the Tzemach Tzedek says, the commandment of the Torah is not about your feelings in your heart. Your heart feels how it feels, and you can't control that. The commandment of the Torah is about something, it's about your thoughts. You can control your thoughts, whether you're going to entertain those thoughts of fear or not. And Hashem commands you, as a biblical commandment, you're not allowed to think thoughts of defeat. You have to know Hashem is going with you. You have to only think about the thoughts of victory. And the Tzemach Tzedek says this. He says, there is fear in your body. If you're experiencing trauma, your body, your heart, you feel the fear. Tzemach Tzedek says this, a fascinating statement. He says, if you not let these thoughts into you, make a decision. I'm only going to let thoughts into me that they're going to be nourishing, they're going to sustain me. I'm not going to let thoughts into me that are going to frighten me, whatever. He says, first of all, the fear will recede from your body. It will become dormant. It'll be like it's sleeping. And although there's fear, it won't affect your body. And he says this, is after a few days, the fear will completely disappear. And it won't even come into your mind as a passing thought. Which is, it means fascinating, but if you think about it, that's what soldiers are doing. That's how they speak. And that's how they are. They don't speak that way. They don't actually entertain thoughts of defeat. That's what these soldiers are there on the battlefield, and they're told, don't let these thoughts into your mind. Like the Torah says, do not be afraid. Don't let thoughts into your... And that's what they're doing. That's how they're living. How do they do this? Ani nishba. It was a complete... I swore to Israel, I'm going to protect the Jewish people. So that's what Yaakov told Yosef, swear to me you're going to bury my body in Israel.
But Rabbi, sorry to interrupt you, swearing itself is not sufficient because you have to be in that environment, like you mentioned. Sorry to interrupt you, I understand it, because the soldier said he was waking up early all the time, because if you don't wake up on time, everybody's waking up, so you get the motivation. So what should somebody do? I mean, I'm going to make a swearing right now to study...
Don't take oath.
No, I'm just making an example. But the environment is also very important. So what should we do about the environment? So
we should come to more often to farbrengens and sit together and talk together. That absolutely, 100% right. You have to have the environment. But with Yosef, a real oath for Yosef Atzadik, he is someone who knew what an oath meant. I mean, for us, there was I don't know where this comes from, but someone once said that there's a difference between Russian Chassidim and American Chassidim. I think I know who was the author of this teaching. What do you mean Russian Chassidim? I met a Russian Chassid this morning. I went to the yeshiva mikveh this morning. It was filthy and it was freezing. But whatever, I ended up in the yeshiva mikveh. That's where I went. Yeah, great. Stronger. Stark. That's what I felt. I felt like I'm a hero. But listen to what happened. I meet this guy who grew up in Russia, and he says, "Oh, is there a Modmir from Samarkand? It reminds me of when I was growing up." I said, "Really?" He says, "Let me tell you a story that I saw with my own eyes that is never printed." I said, "Okay." He says, they were fixing, there was a mikveh that was underground in someone's house. The mikveh was being fixed. And so one of the guys is living in Kfar Chabad now, his name is Rabbi Moshe Levin. He went to a frozen swimming pool next door, went to the guy's house, and he made a hole, he sawed a hole in the ice, and he went in the icy water, the real Jews. He went in the ice. Imagine doing that. Anyways, it's different stuff. So whoever it was said that Russian Hasidim, they're like logs, and American Hasidim are like twigs. When a twig, it's whoa, let's go save the whales or whatever it is, right? Let's go do it. And then all of a sudden, like, what'd you say? What did I say? But Russian Hasidim, it's not so exciting, but they burn till the end. So this is the difference between an oath and just accepting it. Yaakov knew if Yosef is going to approach us like a fox, with just intelligence, with just logic, go back and forth. So which brings us to our answer to our question. So the answer is one question. That's why we made him make an oath. But why did he bow down to him? What's the meaning of bowing down to him? So Rashi says two explanations. One explanation is you bow down to a fox when they're in power. Explanation number two, Rashi says that whenever chas v'shalom someone is sick, divine presence is near them, and Rashi mentions both explanations. First, he says Yosef's like the fox in power, and then he says the divine presence is next to the sick person, so Yaakov bowed down to the divine presence who's next to him because he's sick. It's very, very different explanations, very opposing explanations. So Siddiq masters say this. Rabbi Din Steinsaltz used to give this parable, amazing parable. Fascinating if you think about it. It's really true. We say in davening every day, "Hamisnasi l'chol reish." Simple meaning of this is that Hashem is exalted above all, but it also means Hamisnasi. Hashem is exalted and He empowers every single leader. Chol reish. Hashem empowers everyone who's in power. Everyone's leading, as the Talmud says. Even someone who's in charge of a well. That person is appointed by Shemayim. It doesn't happen by itself. No one gets appointed for something by itself. If a person is in charge of the well, he has been appointed by heaven. So the meaning of Yaakov bowing down to Yosef is to empower him, to make him understand that he has the sufficient strength to get this done. He's acknowledging the power that Yosef has. That's the meaning of the word fox. According to Kabbalah, fox, Shalom Aleichem. According to Kabbalah, Sit down for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. We'll finish in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Counting.
That's right. I go. Dig in. Pass them around.
No. Good to see you.
I came for the Torah and all the food.
That's so nice of you. That's so wonderful. It's so incredible. But I came for the food, not the Torah. Whatever. Well, we can meet halfway. Okay. When Yaakov bowed down to Yosef, Rabbi Steindl gives this following analogy. He says, imagine if you grew up your whole life and you think that you're a duck. You're a duck, you grew up with other ducks, and you swim with the ducks, you play with the ducks, you eat with the ducks. You're just a duck. And all of a sudden, one day, someone comes over to you and says, hey, you're not a duck, you're an eagle. Flap your wings. Like, no, I'm a duck. I know I'm a duck. No, flap your wings, you're not a duck. And you flap your wings, you discover, hey, you aren't that, you could fly. So Rabbi Steindl says that's really the role of what a Rebbe is. A Rebbe is someone who helps you uncover the deeper strength that you have inside of you that you didn't know you had. And I think about Albert Einstein and Edison, all these great geniuses, flunking school, doing terrible in school, and all of a sudden, how they discovered their genius, how did they discover they had something? Because someone smiled to them, someone was kind to them, and someone said to them, I think you have something there. I think there's something in you that's special. Let's get together and find that something. That's how it happened. That's how it happened with all these incredible geniuses that changed the world. That's why Yaakov bowed down to Yosef. And that's why it also says, he bowed down to him. Could you bow down to a fox? According to Kabbalah, fox is connected to the divine energy of Malchus. Malchus means sovereignty. Malchus means the power of leadership in each of us. Every one of us is a leader. Every one of us has meant to fulfill the mandate that God gave to Adam to be fruitful and multiply. We're all leaders. We're all meant to. We weren't meant to stay in heaven. You came here to change the world, to affect the world. Everyone in their way. So if we were to not be aware of what we have, we wouldn't do it. So therefore, Hashem puts people in our life, and we are meant to be people and we are meant to be the person in other people's life to actually acknowledge and compliment and to sincerely bring out and acknowledge the power and strength another person has. When you go into the bank and the teller is smiling and you say to him, wow, it's so good to see a smiling face. What does that guy do? What does he do? What does he do?
Lights up.
He lights up. It changes him. It lights him up. It's such a simple thing, and everyone needs encouragement. They haven't, in report cards. People, I haven't. In the Jewish schools, I don't know if they do this as much, but they have this instead of giving comments, they give numbers. And one of the numbers that is no longer a number, we used to be a number, was needs encouragement. It's no longer a number because it's no longer considered a comment on a report card because everybody needs encouragement. And that's the meaning of Yaakov bowing down to Yosef. Yaakov was telling Yosef, he was bowing down to the divine presence, the Chassidic masters say, within Yosef. He was bowing down to Yosef, he was bowing down to Hashem. Doing both. He was acknowledging the divinity in Yosef. He was saying to Yosef, you are a divine gift. Everything you have is here because Hashem has sent you here. And therefore you can do this mission. You're able to do this mission. So bottom line, get from this whole discussion is how we started off asking, how do we bring out the best in our children, the best in our spouse, best in people in our life? It's just by positive reinforcement, by acknowledging it. There was a tzaddik, his name was Rabbi Nasi. Rabbi Nasi, it says about him, he was he used to honor the wealthy. He used to honor the wealthy. It sounds to us like such a low thing. I mean, honoring a wealthy person? Why would you honor a wealthy person? Because he has money? That makes him better? In the language of Tevye, because if you're rich, they think you really know. Like, is that what it is? Why would Rebbe honor the wealthy? What does it mean? And Rebbe was very wealthy himself. If you're poor, then you honor rich people. You think being rich is like really cool. But if you're rich too, it's not such a big deal. You're rich and he's rich, so what? Why is Rebbe himself was fabulously wealthy, why was he honoring the rich? The answer is, someone who's endowed by Hashem with wealth, and all of us have different kinds of wealth. There's physical wealth, there's all other kinds of wealth. Someone who's endowed with a certain kind of wealth, so what does that mean? That means Hashem trusts them with it. Hashem trusts them with something. And then they're able to impact the world in a unique way with the gift that Hashem gave them. And if they're able to be so impactful, that means that they have also given the strength, the divine gift, to make the right decisions and to use that gift in the best way, which is very, very challenging. It says that in general, the test of poverty is harder than the test of wealth. The test of wealth could be a lot harder too. The test of wealth could be a lot harder than the test of poverty, depending on, not for you, not for me, but for other people. God should bless us with this test.
Yes.
But the point is, it could be a really, really hard test. And because it's such a hard test, Hashem endows the wealthy with unique gifts to be able to withstand this test, to use their wealth in a positive way. And so Rebbe honored the wealthy for two reasons. Reason number one was because in order for them to be able to contend with their challenges, they needed the encouragement. They needed him to acknowledge their goodness. And number two, that's what I'm qualified. He wasn't honoring their wealth. He was honoring the impact that they were gifted by Hashem to make. He was honoring all the goodness that they were meant to create, that Hashem destined for them to create. And number two, Rebbe lived in a transition period among the Jewish. He lived by the time of the destruction of the temple. The whole world was disarray. The whole Jewish people was a state of disarray. The whole world was dysfunctional. So Rebbe had to harness all of the resources he could to rebuild the Jewish people. And so by him honoring the wealthy, he was able to bring out their potential and direct it in the best possible way to rebuild, to cause a renaissance among the Jewish people. Baruch, you have a question, a comment, you want to say something?
Well, I mean, obviously there are plenty of people who are endowed with wealth who blow it, spend it properly.
Doesn't mean they're not gifted to be able to do it. That's why Rebbe honored them. Rebbe looked at a wealthy person as a person who's struggling. A poor guy who's struggling, like Richie Rich, poor little rich boy. That's how Rebbe looked at a rich person. Nebuch. He has this challenge. It's a hard thing, and Rebbe wanted to tell the guy, "You have the power to make a difference. You have something. You could use this in the best possible way. You don't have to. You're endowed to make the right decisions."
He himself was very wealthy.
Yeah.
Isn't it generally accepted, though, that the test of wealth is harder than the test of poverty? Because the poor man cries out, "Help me, help me," and the rich man thinks either he made it by the strength of his own arm.
There's a story of the Alter Rebbe, which I'm going to share with you, even though I don't know, even though Daniel thinks it's not true, and it may not be true, but I heard it from my Shabbat Savititsky, you heard it from another chassid, and it could be, it's not. I think the content, though, is a true story. This is the way the story goes. This poor guy comes from the Alter Rebbe, and he tells the Alter Rebbe, "I'm suffering, I want a blessing to have abundance, to be wealthy." So Alter Rebbe smiles, and he felt like he's being made fun of. Like a light smile comes out of his lips. Like, why are you smiling? So Alter Rebbe said, according to the story, in the previous incarnation you were very wealthy, and you were very generous. And after 120 years, you came to the heavenly court, and the heavenly court looks at you, and all the people you helped in your life are all standing there in front of the desk, in front of the heavenly court. There's all those people you helped, the hundreds of people you've helped, are all standing there, and you're like, wow. They're going to testify for me. They're going to bring me higher and higher in heaven with all the merits of all these people that I've helped. And you come before the heavenly court, and the first guy comes up and he says, Yankel. Yankel says, "Listen, I need to do an operation, and it cost $10,000. And I went to this defendant, and he gave me $2,000. And the court says, you had $30 million in the bank. Why'd you only give me $2,000? And then the next guy comes up, Shmerel. Shmerel says, "Oh, I was suffering. I was so hungry. And I needed food for Shabbos, and he gave me $20 for Shabbos." $20 for Shabbos? That would cost you for Shabbos? And every guy who's coming up, instead of it being a defendant, is causing more and more problems because they're saying you could have done so much more. Why do only what you did? And so the heavenly court says, listen, you're going to come back to earth. You're going to be wealthy again. This time use it properly. Use it all. Use your full potential. If you have 30 million, use 30 million. Don't act like you have 300,000. You have 30 million. The guy says to the heavenly court, please, 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 I'll go back to earth, no problem. Send me back to earth, but don't make me rich on anything but rich. I don't want that. So this is the meaning of the story of Yaakov and Yosef, that Yaakov told Yosef, you have the potential. Hashem did make you rich. Hashem made each of us rich in different ways. King Solomon said to God, don't make me smart, don't make me rich. It didn't work. He was rich, and he was the smartest of all men, and Hashem gave him that challenge. Being humble, when you're supposed to use your gift, is arrogance. It's arrogance. I'm not supposed to, I can't do this, I'm not able to do this. I'm unable. It sounds like you're being humble. but it's actually arrogance. You're saying, I don't believe that Hashem has placed me where He's placed me. I don't believe. I know better. So in order to bring out your inner gifts, you need to acknowledge them. You need to believe. You need to realize Hashem has given me the strength to do what I can do. And you also, people think that when you honor someone, you compliment someone, you're lowering yourself. If you're a very weak person, and giving someone a compliment is like taking away from you. But if you have any inner strength, and you know that the greatest people are the ones who humble themselves and honor other people, that shows real strength. You're able to give another person a genuine compliment. It really doesn't take away from you. Give another person a compliment, it's not taking away. It's and that's because you're strong. You're able to you feel good, and you're able to make another person feel good as well. This is how we bring Mashiach. We bring Geula, we bring goodness to the world. This is the victory of our troops. It's all about this. It's about bringing out each other's goodness through kindness, through warmth, through looking at each other with positivity and smiling. And it's not an avera to smile. It's not an avera. We can do it. Mashiach comes. I know this. I know this for a fact. Mashiach comes. The building's going to go up. And the second will be in Yerushalayim. On the way to Yerushalayim, we're going to feel the building go up. You know, all the shuls will be brought to Yerushalayim. When the building goes up, what's going to happen? You know what's the first thing going to happen in that second? We're all going to smile at each other. All people that we were looking at in the shul, we couldn't stand them. We had silent resentment. He was in that table, I was in this table. It's real. When Mashiach comes, it's all going to melt away. We're going to smile at each other.
I thought he killed all the Palestinians. And then
the main thing, Mashiach comes, the world's going to be full of peace and love. That's what happens. Mashiach will come. Won't be any war. Mashiach comes. That's what's going to happen. Chaim.